Good evening, guys. We're going to start on page 2 of the More Nets of Solids is what we're working on here. So this is number 9. The instructions say to sketch the net of each solid and then label the measurements given. So we're going to sketch the net. The base of it's going to be a circle. And the outside, whenever I cut down the edge and unfurl this, is actually going to give me a sector, some sector of this circle. Okay, looks kind of a fan shape, but it is a portion of a circle where this length right here, okay, is actually going to be what we call the slant height of this shape, 8.2. So this is 8.2, this is 8.2, pardon my ugly drawing, and this is 8.2. All three of those are 8.2. And this distance here is the 4 that they've got marked for the diameter in the picture. And there we are, we're done. Now, let's go on to number 10. Actually, I'm going to skip about every other one. So that we can get through this a little quicker. These have got 2 cones and 2 rectangular prisms, so I'm just going to do one of each. So down here, there's many ways to do these. None of them are necessarily more correct than the other, just maybe more your favorite. So I'm going to turn this thing up on its side, and I'm going to do 8 and 16 this way. So if I look at it that way, then I'm going to start by looking at this piece. Okay, that's going to be, do that in another color. That is going to be right here. And it's going to be 5 units wide and 16 units tall. And then I'm going to have another copy on the back side. I'm going to have another copy of this large purple one that's 8 by 16, and then across the bottom I'm going to have one more of these 5 by 16 boxes like this. Okay, so I've split this down the seam and I've unwrapped it all the way around, and then I've got these 2 smaller ones here, and those are going to be 5 by 8. So this is 5 this way and 8 that way. This is 5 and this is 8. Alright, and later on we'll have ourselves work the surface area of that, but right now we're just doing the labeling. Number 13 asks us to sketch the solids that can be created. Pardon me. Alright, and one of the keys to sketching solids is to take the shape and turn it on the side. For instance, if you look at this circle right now, this ring, it looks like a ring compared to what your perspective. But as I turn it up, you'll notice that the actual circle gets squished until now you're looking, if you're to quit trying to think of looking at the face of it and just picture what you're seeing something that looks more like an oval right now. Alright, and so that's what we're going to have to do to turn this pentagon. We're going to need to squish it a little bit. So we're going to have to squish it from top to bottom a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and leave the base nice and big. And I'm going to just kind of squish this in here so that it's more of a squashed looking pentagon shape. And then I'm going to pick a point down here, and I'm going to bring the sides of my 3D figure down to it. And this is not the prettiest job I've ever done, but nevertheless it suffices. So now we got to try to label in here. So this 9.6, and I think they're just trying to teach you how hard it is to label this stuff. Because this 9.6 is that apothem there. 14 is the length of these sides, so I'm just going to label it where I can. And 20.4 is the slant height. Notice it goes down the middle of one of those shapes. So I'm going to have to try to draw that in here. And put this as 20.4 for the slant height down the middle of that shape. Alright, so let's move on to number 14. We got a cone, and that should be nice and easy for you to do. We just talked about the circle is going to look like an oval, something more like that, and then we're going to put a point down here, and we're going to come down from both sides. We've got our cone. Now this 22.4, we talked about that earlier. That's like where we dissect this cone along the edge, and so that's going to be the 22.4. And then the 20 is that diameter right here. That's 20 units. Okay, so doing a cylinder, very similar to the cone. We're going to need to put the circles on edge. And then drop down. This time we're doing a cylinder, so we're going to drop down parallel walls. And the bottom is going to be like a circle on edge, and then it's going to have a dotted line in the background. In case I haven't explained, those dotted lines in the background are hidden sides of the 3D object. They told us that this is going to have a radius of 12 and a height of 10. If I'm going too fast for you, the great thing is you guys can always pause this and go back and listen again. And then moving on to the box. Boxes are always a little more fun to draw because they're so much easier. If I would draw a box, I'll do it down here. You get to do a nice rectangle up front. And now the key to doing any 3D shape is two things: congruence and parallel. So when I do these shapes, I just need to make sure things are congruent and they're parallel. So if I'm going to draw a line at some angle back here, just kind of pick your own angle. Now I just need to make that congruent and parallel over here. So see how those two are about the same length and they're about the same angle. That's what's going to make this look 3D. As I put those three in, and then notice here I want this to be congruent and parallel, and if you did the first three right, they should line up. So this should be parallel to that and about the same length. This one should be parallel to this one and about the same length, and voila, we've got a beautiful box here. So I'm going to actually come back and continue. This should be parallel to the top, and this one should be parallel to the bottom and left, and that allows me to finish out my 3D box with the hidden sides. And then they asked us to mark the distances, so this is going to be 10 here, this is going to be 18 across here, and then 5 was, let's see, this is 10 by 18, and so I guess that leaves 5 for the front to back. I just really made it way too deep. Should have made those about half as long. Alright, so there we go. And I'm going to go ahead and stop that for this page and record another one for the next page.